This is it, footy fans. Time to travel down to Caltex Field for this afternoon's clash between top-of-the-table Cronulla and the Raiders from down south, Canberra. League 88 is brought to you uninterrupted by All Proud Home Improvements, City Ford, Manchester Unity and Valiant Glass. Here's Greg Hartley and Peter Peters.
Good afternoon and welcome to the big one this afternoon. Canberra versus Cronulla. The Cronulla side this afternoon, coached by Alan Fitzgibbon. Jonathan Docking's the fullback. Glenn Coleman and David Harris are the wingers. Andrew Eddingshausen and Mark McGaw are the centres. Michael Speechley's the 5'8". Halfback Barry Russell, Jack in the box. David Hatch is the lock forward and captain. Alan Wilson and Gavin Miller in the second row. Dan Staines and Malcolm Wheeler are the props, and Michael Porter is the hooker. Here's Hollywood with the Canberra Raiders, the green machine.
Yes, coached by Timmy Sheens. The fullback Gary Belcher. The wingers are Paul Martin and John Ferguson. The centre combination Laurie Daly and Peter Jackson. The halves Hen Jack and Stewart. The lock forward and captain Dean Lance. The two second rowers are Grant Ellison, Bradley Clyde. Prop forward Sammy Bacco and Glenn Lazarus. And Steve Waller's the hooker. Graham Annesley looking after the game this afternoon. I hope you have a good one today, Graham.
Reserve grade 24-12 in favour of Cronulla, 24-12, and under 21s 10 points to 4 to the Cronulla side. So to the Canberra side, sorry. So a win in the 21s to Canberra, 10-4. A win in the reserves to Cronulla, 24-12. One apiece here, and uninterrupted rugby league on 2GB News Talk 87 in Sydney, 2CA in Canberra, brought to you by City Ford, Valiant Glass, Manchester Unity and All Proud. And what a game of football this should be this afternoon here. Ideal conditions for rugby league. A very good Saturday crowd here at Caltex Field. The referee Graham Annesley on the pitch now, and the Canberra side all geared up for a big effort. This is the ground on which they won their first away game in their history in rugby league in Sydney. So they'll be emulating or trying to emulate that feat this afternoon in a very important game of rugby league here at the Caltex Field down by the sea at Botany Bay. Here's the national anthem being played. Stand by. We'll be into the action shortly.
Song, Pete.
Yes.
I love it. Great anthem.
Yeah. Where'd you get that Cronulla shirt from?
I'm on for the Sharkies for Savo, mate.
Okay, the Sharks versus the green machine of the Canberra Raiders this afternoon as the people rug up. Here's our sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Yeah, well, always Cronulla winning the toss, and there's that very stiff breeze blowing down towards the water. Cronulla with the advantage of a breeze, probably a converted try, I'd say.
Okay, here we go for the kickoff. Here's Hollywood.
Yeah, straight into the arms of Jonathan Docking. 12 out from the line, out to Sparkles McGaw. Oh, McGaw's put down very quickly, 18 out from his own goal line. Up now to Platt, it goes to Porter. Porter races across field. Dean Lance down around the legs on the Sharkies quarter line. Up now to Platt. Once again, it goes into the arms this time of Malcolm Wheeler. He's pulled down, only gaining a metre or so over the top by Steve Walters. Back it goes now to Dan Staines going forward. He's wrapped up and will be playing the ball 25 out from his own line. It goes back to Hatch. Good pass back to Gavin Miller. He gets a kick downfield. Was not interfered with on that occasion. And it is now 30-odd metres out from the goal line. Paul Martin picking it up. Canberra end of the ground. He's knocked down immediately, two over the top by McGaw. Now it's played. It goes back to Daly. Straight out now to Gary Belcher. Again, McGaw into the tackle with Gavin Miller. Plays it back to Stevie Walters. Sends it across this time to Lazarus. Hits it up strongly towards the halfway line. Still 4 metres short of it. We'll play it again to Steve Walters. Dummies from the back of the ruck. Goes into now Sharky territory and pulled down by 3 defenders. He'll get up there to play the ball. Back it goes across to Bradley Clyde. Out to Hen Jack. Good pass to Ricky Stewart. Drops it off the end of the toe. Straight down the throat of Jonathan Docking on his own quarter line. He goes centre field. Jackson catches up with him some 30 metres out from the Sharkies goal line.
Very committed Canberra defence this afternoon. A lot tougher than it was early last week. There's Jackson in for his cut. 2 tackles in succession. And the green machine this afternoon up against the Cronulla Sharks. This is going to be a great game of football.
Oh, Hatch dummies. Tries to go forward, but eventually he's wrapped up and will play the ball centre field. 40 metres out from his own goal line. Back over the tackler. Now it's with Wheeler. He goes across field more than downfield. Backo again over the top ball and all to pull him down in company with Grant Ellis. It's played now to Porter, gives it out to Gavin Miller. Beautiful pass on to Dan Staines, nearly through the gap, but just caught hold of by Ivan Henjack. It's played now to Barry Russell. Out to Eddingshausen, chips over the top. Harris goes through, can't take the football, but a penalty given by the referee to the Canberra Raiders. They're in front of the kicker, he says, and it's some 26 out from the Raiders goal line.
Yeah, Harris was the player ruled offside. Touch and go. Annesley in a beautiful position to adjudicate 0-0 at Shark Park this afternoon. Caltex Field, home of the Cronulla Sharks, 0-0 after the opening 2 minutes of play. There's the kick. It's found touch now. Ian McCall, the touch judge, puts the flag up now. 35 metres out from the Cronulla goal line, and Backo charges onto the ball, makes an easy 10. The Raiders are all fired up.
Yeah, and a good tackle by Staines to put him away. It's out with Henjack. Long pass across to Clyde. Got his legs chopped from under him by Speechley. Beautiful tackle down low. Again, Steve Wallace serving it up to Lazarus. Hits it up towards the Sharkies quarter line, centre field. And again, it's knocked down. Steve Wallace again sends it back to centre field to Henjack. A switch down the blind side to Gary Belcher. Out to Jackson. And he is put away by Magore. And I mean put away. It's played to Daly. Gives it out now to Dean Lance. And again, we see Speechley go down low. 30 out from his own goal line. He's up there to play the ball. Steve Wallace to Henjack down the blind side. Good pass to Jackson out wide to Daly. He stumbles, but eventually caught up to by Glenn Coleman on the far side. The pass ruled. No, it's not. It's a change of possession. Picking it up now, David Hatch for the Sharks. It's played to Coleman from the back of the ruck. He races across. He's picked up by 3 defenders. Daly's in there. So is Jackson. Also Steve Wallace, and he's put down gently. It's a play the ball. Back now to Docking. A knock-on has occurred. The referee says the scrum will go down. 18 away from the Sharks goal line.
Well, if you could pick a side in the opening couple of minutes to win a game of football, the Green Machine look enormous this afternoon early in the game. They're running onto the football. They're defending like men possessed, and Cronulla already know that they're in for a tough game of football. Eddingshausen standing already a yard offside from this scrum, almost in front of his uprights, but they've won it against the feed. Michael Porter doesn't often do that.
No, and Barry Russell coming away very quickly from the back of the ruck. Now it's played to David Hatch, but a penalty this time against Jackson. He says get off from the man playing the ball, and this penalty will get the Sharks out of a bit of a trouble there, some 20-odd metres out from their own goal line.
Well, that was a very good scrum win against the feed. Canberra in that position inside the opposition quarter with 6 tackles to go. They're a very dangerous side, and that's going to be one of the most important scrum wins of the day for Michael Porter. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Yeah, it started. It's got all the earmarks of a great game. This Magore reading the play beautifully there. He put a really good hit on Belcher. They keep switching the attack, Canberra.
They certainly do, and also a good tackle by Magore on Peter Jackson. So he's tackling well up. Beautiful pass by young Wilson there, out to some support, and just tackled short of the halfway mark was Speechley, who's limping.
Yes, and we've got now Gavin Miller in possession of the ball after 3 tackles on the halfway line. Michael Porter at dummy half, gives it across into the arms of Staines once again. He's wrapped up and put down 2. My young Glenn Lazarus getting up now to play the ball. This time it goes to Coleman, a dummy half. It goes across to Porter. He gives it out to Eddinghausen. Good pass on to Harris.
Eddinghausen shouldn't pass that ball.
Oh, no, he only had 2 metres left to move.
He didn't even have 2 metres left to move. It was almost in the pocket of Tony McGay. Eddingshausen should have come back inside, taken the tackle. He gave it to his winger there, David Harris, with no room to move, and there was nothing going to happen there except Harris going over the sideline. Tony McGay, you could have taken that pass.
Oh, ridiculous pass. He apologised to Harrison, was entitled to.
Oh, was he ever? He should have apologised too, giving the ball in an impossible position like that. Touch judge did report something. Referee Annesley speaking.
Had a to Lazarus, Pete.
Talking to Lazarus, told him that, OK, you might be able to walk on water, but you can't do anything wrong here.
There's the feed now, by Henjack, and it's going to be a... oh, no, it's not. Yes, it is a win to the Raiders, but gee whiz, I thought it nearly went over the touchline. Henjack plays it to Lazarus. He gives it back inside to Bradley Clyde, and talk about fierce defence too, and it's very, very strong from the Sharks at this stage of the game. Walters now gives it across to Grant Ellis. He's knocked down too. Beautiful tackle that time by Wheeler. Up the play it back to Steve Wallace. Across to Henjack. Out now to Stewart. Good pass out to Daly wide. Then on to Jackson. Turns it back inside to Ferguson. Ferguson dropped the football. He's forced over the touchline. Scrum to go down. 8 metres short of the halfway line in Raider territory.
Jackson down injured on the far side of the ground, and of course he's taken a few injuries into the game. He's being helped up by his winger now, and he's way out of his... Oh, he's fallen over, Jackson. He's going onto the wing, and he's in a fair bit of bother there as the Sharks win the scrum.
Yeah, Speechley straight out to Coleman. He's through that. He gets it back to Docking. Docking now races forward and he's pulled down 34 out from the Canberra goal line. It's played now to Russell. He gives it out to Malcolm Wheeler. He's pulled down by Glenn Lazarus. Will play the ball centre field, 30 metres out from the Raiders goal line. Porter has the ball knocked down from his possession towards his own goal line. The referee says get up and play it, as he does now. Back to Jonathan Docking. He gives it across now to Gavin Miller. Out to Russell. Oh, and Dean Lance has hit him with the shoulder and put little Barry Russell out of business, I'm here to tell you. He's up to play the ball. It goes across to Staines, out to Michael Porter, and again Dean Lance in low to pull his man down, 38 out from the Raiders goal line. It's played now to David Hatch, out to Gavin Miller. He puts a ball across the Raiders back line into the in-goal area and bounces awkwardly. Jackson back there to watch it trickle over the dead ball line, so the recommencement back on the Raiders quarter line.
Great game of football, 7 minutes gone, 0-0 on the Panasonic scoreboard. The defence is fantastic here. No rubbish in back play, just good, strong, hard defence. A couple of good hits by Dean Lance a few moments ago. Conversely, Mark McGaw doing the job for Cronulla in much the same effect. So Canberra now trying to get the ball out from their own line, and it's 0-0 here at the Caltex field.
And Bradley Clyde, blood coming out of his beak at the moment. He's 30 out from his own line. He gives it across now to Henjack. It goes out now to Sam Bacco running wide. And a good tackle that time by Gavin Miller. Stops Big Sam. It plays now to Steve Wallace, to Henjack. Cuts out Stewart. Picks up Jackson. He's okay now. Flies down the far flank. And Eddinghausen over the top to knock him into touch. And this scrum now will go down again. 3 metres into Sharky territory in the defence. Peter, it's fearsome.
Yeah, it certainly is, Greg. New Zealand lead Australia 4-0 in the rugby. But, I understand from our man at the match, Ian Trent, covering it, that definitely a no-try bounce ball in the in-goal. Ian Trent, are you there?
Yes, Peter. It was a bounce ball and also a forward pass earlier on in the same movement. So it's 4-0 with a kick to come.
Okay.
And not a good start for Australia.
Not a good start for Australia. 4-0 with a kick to come and a bounce ball try and a forward pass in that movement. So the All Blacks 4 with a kick to come lead Australia 0 here at Cronulla's home ground, Caltex Field. Gavin Miller kicking for the sideline on the Cronulla club side of the ground. Their licensed club, the Cronulla Sharks Leagues Club, great club in Sydney, and he's found touch now 35 metres out from the Canberra Machines goal line, and it's at 0-0.
Porter now gives it back to McGaw after the free kick. McGaw very quickly knocked the ground 30 metres away from the Canberra goal line. Plays it now to Coleman, coming across field, actually running back. He's going to be knocked to the ground too, and eventually he is by Steve Wallace. He's up to play the ball back to Porter, goes across to Gavin Miller, shows it to one, drops it into the arms of Wheeler going down the centre. Wheeler's pulled down now 26 metres out centre field from the Raiders goal line. Porter again a dummy half, gives one across to Gavin Miller again, but he's got the Raiders, and I'd say 7 or 8 of them all offside. He's even counting them. This penalty given inside the Canberra quarter line, and an easy shot at goal.
Yeah, he's counted to 4 players inside the 5, Greg, and he's given the penalty. I'm not going to complain about that, providing he does it at the other end of the field too. I don't like to see 2 points virtually given to a side for players being inside the 5, but he's warned them, and if he does it at the other end of the park, that's fair enough too. But the kick is going to be taken now by Alan Wilson, just inside the quarter and only 10 metres off centre of the uprights. This should be easy for young Alan Wilson. We spoke to him before the game on our World of Football program, and he said he spends a couple of hours a week in honing up his goal kicking skills. Gee, he's had a good season for this club, and he's a jack of all trades, but he prefers playing in the second row where his dad played for Newtown. He'll actually be kicking this football to the hill end of the ground, and that's the hill end of the ground where his dad watches him from each and every weekend he plays here.
Yep, and this kick is just inside the quarter line, and I had the distinction of playing with his dad back in the 60s with Newtown.
Did he play reserve grade?
And he kicks straight over the bar, and I did play first grade, Peter, so don't be smart.
Okay, 2 points to 0, and it's in favour of the Cronulla Sutherland side over the Canberra Raiders. 2 points to 0, a penalty goal after the 9th minute by Alan Wilson from the Cronulla side. Greg, did you play first grade for Newtown?
I did, Peter.
Newtown. Remember that club song? 13 men all dressed in blue, Newtown, Newtown. 13 men all dressed in blue, none of them know what to do, Newtown.
Okay.
And you were the leader of that side,
back
for
to
sure.
the game, and there she goes. Straight down into the arms of Docking again. He takes the ball 10 metres out from his own line. A good burst too, up to some 18 metres away from it now before being pulled down over the top. Getting up to play the ball, it goes to Dan Staines from the back of the ruck. He gets out of the quarter, a gain of some 8 metres or so. Still in the centre of the ground, and that time pulled down by Stevie Wallace. David Hatch gives it across to Porter. He puts his head down, charges straight to it. Bacco's there to stop him. 30 out from the Sharks. Sharkies line. Hatch gives it across to Gavin Miller. Beautiful pass out to Wheeler. Wheeler hits it up too. He's 10 metres short of the halfway line. Sharks on the attack now. Speechley a dummy half from that position. Kicks downfield across to the wing of Paul Martin, who scurries back. Gary Belcher's there too, but Martin's going to get to the football first. Takes his time in picking it up, and he is eventually pulled down.
2 points to nil in favour of Cronulla over Canberra on the Panasonic scoreboard after 11 minutes. Update at the rugby, Ian Trent.
New Zealand 6, Australia 0.
New Zealand 6, Australia 0. As up goes the front row forward. Glenn Lazarus makes it up almost outside his quarter there. Canberra working hard now as they get a penalty inside the 5, the Cronulla side. So Graham Annesley consistent in that 5 metre area. That was the area which Cronulla gained their opening 2 points of the day here. Round 20 of the Winfield Cup. Good crowd in attendance, good conditions as Peter Jackson. Good kick into the wind here at Caltex Field, and up goes the flag immediately in front of our broadcasting position, 10 metres out almost from the halfway mark in Canberra territory.
Oh, gee whiz, and Bacco heading it up very strongly after the free kick. He's knocked down. It's played to Wallace across to Henjack. He gives it out to Lazarus once again. He does a heck of a lot of work for the Canberra side. He's knocked to the ground by Gavin Miller. It's played once again to Steve Wallace, to Henjack again. He dummied that time, has gone through a little gap, closed up quickly. Wilson down low to pull him to ground. He gets up to play the ball. Back it goes out to Ricky Stewart, then on to Peter Jackson. Steps away from one, tried to keep it alive, but knocked down 32 metres out from the Sharks goal line. He quickly plays it that time to Gary Belcher, to Lazarus once again. Righty hitting it up towards the Sharks quarter line with one tackle left to go. And Jack elects to put the ball high. And going up for the ball, and a beautiful take on the far side.
Yeah, and Peter Jackson's down injured again, and he's got stomach injury and also a leg injury, and he's in a lot of pain here at Caltex Field. Tony McGee, our sideline eye, suggested that he maybe was taking injuries into the game. He doesn't look too good, Magoo.
No, he doesn't, Peter. You can see that strapping, heavily strapping on that left knee. He's limping at the moment. He's up there, but by gee, he's in some difficulty. I predicted that he wouldn't be playing if Meninga was fit, and I don't think he should be out there.
Okay, so there it is, and there's the chip over the top, and it's going to be picked up by Magoo.
Eddinghausen it is, and he's flying downfield, but he's got Magoo on the inside. He's got Harris, he gives it to Magoo. They're not going to catch Sparkles Magoo, and Magoo goes over to score a great Cronulla try. 3 cheers for the Sharkies on that one. It was a beauty.
Yeah, it was laid on by Andrew Eddinghausen, but it was Magoo who scored it, and they picked out that Jackson was limping. Jackson was limping. He moved to the wing. He just got on his feet, and he was in a lot of pain, and it was Jackson. They immediately saw he was out of the play. Chip kick over the top, beautifully picked up on the fly by E.T. Andrew Eddinghausen. He passed the ball back inside to Mark Magoo, and Sparkles raced in for a very good Cronulla try. A beautiful football try that. A movement started inside their own territory and completed with Magoo crossing for a very important 4 points, and that's a good lead of 6 points to nil after 14 minutes of play. And Tony McGee, Jackson was unable to pursue the Cronulla side as they raced downfield.
Exactly right, Peter. There was a quick call from Magoo on that side. He saw Jackson down. He was lining him, and Eddinghausen had nobody marking him straight through the hole. He could have given it to the winger, but he got another call from Magoo, who set that try up. Beautiful work.
Yeah, certainly was. And as this kick's being lined up now by Alan Wilson.
He's just inside the Raiders quarter line. 20-odd metres in from touch. A relatively easy kick for Alan Wilson. And, gee, that was a good try.
It was a good try. Classy try. And Canberra, their numbers short out wide. And Jackson having a bit to say behind that goal line. He's going to have to watch himself because, if he's not fully fit out there, they'll certainly take full advantage of that.
Yeah, well, they've got Craig Bellamy sitting there too, Peter. So, and has played a lot of centres, Craig. But this kick now, as we said, 20 metres in from touch, just inside the Raiders quarter line. Alan Wilson comes in on. He's knocked it away to the left-hand side.
Yeah, I thought he would have kicked that one. 6 points to nil on the Panasonic scoreboard. Update at the rugby, Ian Trent.
Fox a penalty goal. New Zealand 9, Australia 0.
Okay, New Zealand 9, Australia 0 in the rugby test. Gavin Miller receiving some treatment just behind the play there. They had the old wheezer at him. I don't know that he suffers from asthma, but certainly he looked as though he was getting something there for a problem that he's got. Maybe he's got a throat problem, but looked looked as though he was having the old sniffer there for asthma.
Well, now we've got Porter racing away from the back of the ruck. He's brushed off one or two. They're falling off some tackles now, the Canberra side, and it was left for their skipper, Dean Lance, to put him down. It's played to Hatch, gives it out now to Malcolm Wheeler, and he goes forward, but a great tackle too by Bradley Clyde, puts Wheeler down. He'll play the ball back to Hatch, goes across now to Gavin Miller, holds it up beautifully for Wilson. Wilson had support coming through in docking, but couldn't slip it. He's up the play it once again to Gavin Miller, and there goes the percentage football from Cronulla. Down fell over the head of Paul Martin, straight over the touchline, inside the Raiders quarter line.
Good kick by Gavin Miller. They're using this win to great advantage. At the moment, they've got this Canberra side at 6s and 7s. Every time they move the ball out wide, they've got numbers on this Canberra side, which doesn't often happen to this Canberra side in the back line. But with a passenger or two in their back line this afternoon, they're finding it very hard to contain this smart move in Cronulla side. 6-0 to the Sharks.
Yes, plenty of enthusiasm, but this scrum now down inside the Raiders quarter line to be fed by Henjack for the Raiders. They win it. It goes straight across now to Ricky Stewart. Tries to get his momentum going. Hatch out quickly. In cover defence from the scrum to put him down. Henjack from the back of the ruck gives it across now to Belcher. Belcher tries to go around Wilson, but to no avail. He's knocked down up the play it now. Back it goes to Steve Wallace. Out to Lazarus again. And Lazarus gains a good 10 metres. He's 30 out from his own goal line. Steve Wallace again at dummy half. Penalty to the Raiders. And that time,
David Hatch.
Yeah, got caught up in the play of the ball. He should have just rolled away. And that's, that's not a good move from the captain of the side, Pete.
No, certainly not, Greg. He was mauling and he got caught, and that's all there is to it. He was laying around there trying to slow up this Canberra side, getting the ball out, but referee Annesley is having a very good game so far. 17 minutes gone, 6-0 to the Cronulla Sharks.
Henjack to Stewart, holds it up this time for Clyde coming through on the burst. Oh, good held up pass to it was, and to a support runner coming through there. He plays the ball, Ricky Stewart. It goes across now to Steve Wallace, back to Backo, and Sam trying to go forward. He's thrown the ball away, but it's gone back towards his own goal line, and again diving on it was Steve Wallace for the Raiders. It's played now to Grant Ellis, out to Henjack to Stewart. Good pass across to Jackson. Jackson beats one, holds the ball in two hands to try and get it away. It's been knocked down, and docking for the Cronulla side comes up, and he's around Backo. Tries to get around Dean Lance, but Dean Lance doesn't miss too often, and he's dropped him 30 out from the Sharks goal line. Speechley from the back of the ruck races away for a gain of 6 metres or so. He's finished off by Lazarus. It's played now to docking across to Miller, turns it then out to Staines. Staines has gone without it. No Raiders diving on the loose ball. The advantage was to the green machine, and the scrum will go down 38 metres out from the Sharks goal line.
Well, the enthusiasm of the opening 5 minutes of the game to the Canberra Raiders has certainly left them, and they're in a lot of bother at this stage of the game. After 19 minutes in the first half, it's 6-0 in favour of Cronulla over Canberra here at Caltex Field, but a long way to go in this game.
Stewart now giving it back out to Peter Jackson after Canberra winning that scrum. Jackson knocked down. It's played to Gary Belcher, gives it out this time once again into the arms, going very strongly to Grant Ellis. Up the play it after Staines puts him down. It's played to Steve Wallace. Can't step away from the tackle of Speechley. He just dives right around the ankles. It's gone now across to Henjack, out to Stewart, shows it to one, back to Bradley Clyde. A very good move on that occasion too by the green machine.
Well, this Canberra side, Gary Belcher's got to start coming into this back line more and start making his presence felt in the game, because there's Jackson again losing the ball. That's 3 times in succession that Peter Jackson has lost the ball. Cronulla come up with possession of it, and well, he's a passenger out there, Jacko, and he's a fine player, but he's not playing well today, and you can't play well when you're not 100% fit in this game. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, that's true. We spoke about it often enough, but I don't feel he's played well for a month or so. He's played through those rep games with injury, and he's playing with injury again today, and hence the result.
Yeah, and here's a penalty now to the Cronulla side. Backo reaching through, trying to pinch the ball in the play the ball, and referee Annesley has knocked him off for that. So 6-0 to the Sharks here, and we're halfway through the first half. Enterprising game, the Sharks on top, but they've got the win in the first half, and they'll need at least an 8-point lead in the first half at half-time.
Gavin Miller 30 metres out, about to take the penalty shot, kicking across to the opposite side of the club here at Caltex Field as the flag goes up just short of the halfway line. Michael Porter to take the tap. The Sharks are lined out. He takes it. He turns it back to the second man coming through, and it's Dan Staines. He's put down very quickly too by Clyde. Plays it to Malcolm Wheeler. Gives it across now to Hatch. He straightens up the attack. He's put down by Steve Wallace. 8 metres over the halfway line in Canberra territory. It's back again to Michael Porter. Across now to Gavin Miller. Out wide it goes to Speechley. Then on to Magor. Magor goes across field, and eventually he's going to be wrapped up on the far side. Andrew Eddinghausen into the dummy half. He's had the ball stolen off him, and that's a dead set penalty. Young Ricky Stewart, who was all over the top of him like a rash, And the referees call him out because Ricky said something to him.
Well, that's just silly. I mean, that was a silly mistake by Ricky Stewart there. He was down. He tried to get up and he just pulled the ball off him. And the referees have got no options, Greg, in those types of conditions, mate, where they've got to give the penalty. He obviously wanted play to go on the referee, but he can't allow that thing to happen. And that's a penalty well warranted to Cronulla. And Gavin Miller comes up, and this will put them deep inside the Canberra territory. Canberra at the moment looking like a side that that's not going places at the moment.
Well, that kick has found touch. The free one to be taken just outside the quarter line. Porter does it, gives it back to Glenn Coleman. He's short of the Canberra quarter line with Bacco over the top of him. It's played now to Wheeler. Wheeler can't get rid of Bacco either as he's dragged to the ground, more or less centre field. Well and truly into rated territory, the Sharks. It's played now back to Porter. He gives it out to Gavin Miller. Holds it up in a planned move that time for Wilson coming through on the burst, and Bacco finishes off that run. Now it's played to Porter. Goes across to Miller. Turns it back inside to Russell. He's stopped by Dean Lance in his tracks. And he's flat on his backside. He's hurt him too. Don't worry about that now. Porter again from the back of the ruck charges forward. Bypasses one, but eventually Bradley Clyde over the top. They've got one left to go, the Sharkies. Jonathan Docking had an attempt at field goal. It was dreadful. Ferguson takes possession back in his own in goal. Around 1 or 2, he's hard to tackle this bloke and does well, Fergie, to get out into the field of play.
Greg, it might have looked like a drop kick, but it was a grubber kick into the in-goal area, and that was for people to burst onto the ball, and it was a dead-set grubber kick, and it almost came off. It was only good work by Ferguson. We got a high tackle here against the
Harris,
against the Cronulla player Harris, and it didn't look all that bad to me, I've got to say.
Yeah, well, he's saying that you hit him up around the head. He's not going to be a sin bin, but he's certainly giving Canberra the penalty, Pete, 5 metres out from their own line.
Well, I tend to disagree with that one. I thought it was touch and go. I'd give the benefit to Harris on that occasion. It was there was no swinging arm, and certainly the player's up. He's okay.
Yep, well, that penalty now finds touch 30 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Steve Wallace with the tap. He gives it across to Clyde. Clyde charging forward up to the 40-metre line. He's 20 in from touch. He's going to play it again to Steve Wallace. Grant Ellis calls for it, receives it, charges up now just short of the halfway line.
Okay, we'll have a flash score from the rugby. Ian Trent.
New Zealand 12, Australia 0. Fox another penalty goal.
Okay, 12-0 to New Zealand. Cronulla and Canberra doing battle here at Caldex Field, and it's 6-0 to the Sharks.
Stewart in possession after a run around from Peter Jackson, but pulled down 2 metres into Sharky territory. It's played to Belcher. Back again now to Peter Jackson. He links up with Lance. Across now it went into the arms of Grant Ellis out wide. Back inside it went to Lazarus, then to Gary Belcher. Oh, Belcher's been hit. He's popped up possession. The Sharks take the initiative and the football through Eddinghausen inside their own quarter line.
Well, Canberra should have kept going to the left there. They passed it back in field to Gary Belcher when they'd have been better off heading out towards the wing of Ferguson. He was unmarked out there. That could have been a Canberra try. Just a bad bit of judgment there by the Canberra side to come back inside. So Cronulla lead by 6-0. Speechley, a good pass out to Magor.
Oh, then back inside to Eddinghausen. Coleman screaming at Eddinghausen to let it go, but he couldn't slip it away. Now Glenn Coleman's harassed over the top by Ferguson. Just outside the Sharks quarter line. Gavin Miller again from the back of the ruck. Manages to get his kick in downfield. Gary Belcher coming across now, taking possession 30 out from his own goal line. A line of defence from the Sharks, but Belcher dummies. He's through the gap. He's got Paul Martin out wide. He's got one to beat, and Docking goes in low to pull Martin down. 18 out from the Sharks goal line. Gary Belcher across down to Jackson. Had to dive forward to take that one. Gets up, tries to start the movement going again, but he's wrapped up, and in doing so has knocked the football on.
Well, that's about the 4th time in a row that he's knocked on, and he's totally frustrated out there, Peter Jackson. And this Canberra side can't get any momentum going. They're making enough breaks through the Cronulla defence, but can't finish it off. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Oh, isn't he a fantastic running fullback, Belcher? You wouldn't have thought it possible he could break through 5 people. They're all chasers, but he's found a hole, and Jackson's mucked it up again.
Yeah, he certainly has. Here's Magor out wide, looking for support.
Oh, and he's got it to an Eddinghausen. This time Coleman gets it. He comes inside Ferguson, beating Cole, but then he's wrapped up on the far side. We'll get up to play the ball. Back it goes to Eddinghausen. Across now to Jonathan Docking, out to Gavin Miller, then on to Wheeler charging forward. But a great tackle that time. A good one by Gary Belcher. Stops Wheeler in his tracks. It's gone to Miller. Out to David Hatch. A cut-out pass on to Wilson. Wilson nearly through. He's lost possession. Picked up by Harris. It's gone forward. Scrum to go down. 15 over the halfway line in rated territory.
Well, the side that settles down is going to win this game. Both sides trying to score every time they get the football, and early in the tackle count, and that's the result of the poor handling that we've seen today. That's the reason why we're seeing the poor handling, and it's 6-0 in favour of Cronulla over Canberra. Scrum to be fed by little Ivan Henjak in his first game back, and a penalty to the Canberra side. Cronulla not facing the goal line and moving towards the sideline. A clear and very, very concise ruling there by referee Annesley. The scrums in the game are 3-all and the penalties are 5-all. So 6 points to nil. The only difference between these sides, and that's where it matters most on the scoreboard, a try to Mark Magore in the 14th minute.
Oh, and a penalty kick again now given to the Raiders. He had the Sharks standing inside that mandatory 10 metres from where the free kick was to be taken. I don't like those sort of penalties. He takes up the 10 yards. If he feels that way, he should go back 12. I don't like that ruling at all.
Okay, there's Jackson. They're not going. They could have had a shot at penalty goal there, but they've elected to go for the try. That was easy range for Gary Belcher too. So that surprises me a bit.
Steve Wallace with the tap. It goes across to Henjack. There was a wall of forwards. Then out to Stewart. Then on to Jackson. Jackson's around 1 or 2. This time manages to hang on to the football as Speechley takes him over the top. It's with Daly now across to Ricky Stewart. He's a good little stepper this time. Hatch is there to take him ball and all. Will play it 18 metres away from the Sharks goal line. Back to Steve Wallace to Henjack. Holds it up for Sammy Bacco coming through, but he's got his legs chopped from under him by Dan Staines. It's played now to Steve Wallace again to Henjack. Gives it out to Grant Ellis. Tries to go over the top of Wilson, but Wilson's tackle is held firm. Now it's back again, would you believe, to Steve Wallace. He keeps it alive. It's off the chest of one. That is no knock on. The Sharks come up with possession through young Alan Wilson. It hit him on the chest. Now Docking serves one up to Porter. Porter looks, he looks if he can kill you, but he's knocked down after a 2-metre gain. No marker, gets up to play it forward, and he's going to take it right up towards his own quarter line before he's pulled to ground. He'll play the ball now to Jonathan Docking. The tackler again was Steve Wallace for the Raiders. It's with Docking now. Gives it out to Wheeler. Wheeler is picked up and driven into the turf again by Steve Wallace.
Speechley down, injured him back play a few metres out from his own goal line, but he's up to get it now as Wilson charges onto the ball for Cronulla. He's having a good game, this kid, this afternoon for the Sharks.
Sure is. Again with Docking out to Gavin Miller. Miller gets his kick in this time. Martin Hall juggles the football, manages to hang on to the leather as he goes across towards the centre of the ground. Can't push away Dan Staines, who decks him 40 out from his own goal line. We'll play it now to Ricky Stewart across to Daly. He's on his own. Comes back inside. Can't link up with anybody.
Well, there's no back line there for Canberra. That's the problem. Now, Daly went to look for support. He went outside him, and all was there was Chicka Ferguson. There was no centres, 5/8s or anybody out there. And Canberra are missing in action at the moment. This is only a shadow of the side that we saw rampaging their way to the Winfield Cup lead only a few weeks ago. Sure, Cronulla are matching them in every department and frustrating them, but this Canberra side way below their best at the moment.
Peter Jackson trying to make a bust. He turns the ball back inside to Gary Belcher. Keeps it alive with Henjack. He gets a hand to it. It goes back towards the Canberra's goal line. Henjack goes back for it too. Jackson takes it. He's wrapped up by David Harris. A change of possession now for the Sharks as Harris plays it quickly to Eddinghausen. They take the initiative. A long pass across to Speechley. He's not well. Didn't want to take that football, but then carries it up towards the halfway line centre field before he runs into Bacco. He'll play it again to Eddinghausen. Gives it across to Gavin Miller. Miller tries to link up with someone, but all too slow on that occasion as Gavin's pulled down right on the halfway line. Once again by Grant Ellis. It's played to Docking. It goes out this time to Porter. Porter tries to go over the top once again of Lazarus, but Lazarus is there to pull him down. It's played to Wilson across to Speechley. Back now to Magore. Magore holds it up for Eddinghausen. He goes through the gap. He comes down to Belcher. Too much pace for Belcher. Turns it back inside to Docking. And Docking now is pulled down 11 metres out from the Raiders goal line. He plays it now to Barry Russell. It's a penalty to the Cronulla side. Leading on the man.
5 minutes in the sin bin for Laurie Daly too. That's a vital decision by the referee, no doubt about it. In my book, Daly went for the doctor there and lashed out with his foot, gave the penalty away, and it was a dead set penalty that he did give away, and it's going to be 2 points, 5 minutes in the sin bin, and Wilson will have no trouble in piloting this one between the uprights for an 8 points to nil lead. Daly goes to the sin bin for the Canberra Raiders side. A beautiful pass by Mark Magore there, running beautifully onto a pass from Speechley. He stood in the tackle, gave it to Eddinghausen, and Eddinghausen was through. He took the tackle of Gary Belcher, but then the halfback was not allowed to play the ball, and here's the penalty now.
Well, Wilson, some 12 metres out. Geez, he sped onto that ball all right, Zorb. And
he certainly did. A beautiful pass by Magore.
Yeah. Well, this kick now 12 metres out, more or less in front. As Pete said, Daly's gone to the bin for 5. Hell of a bit of a spell, leaning all over the man in possession. They're in total disarray, their defence, the Canberra Raiders, on that occasion. I suppose it was probably the only thing that he can do, but he's leaving his side a little short. Here comes the kick now from Alan Wilson as he comes in, and he directs it straight over the bar.
Yeah, 8 points to 0 now in favour of the Cronulla Sharks over the Canberra Raiders, and they're certainly doing it in style this afternoon. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Professional foul by Daly, but had to be done. That was a try for sure. McGaw, the most improved centre in the game. He hit the line and laid it on. Cronulla have got this mob for sure.
Yeah, they're certainly looking very good, but never discount the Canberra side. That's 8 points to 0 now in favour of Cronulla over Canberra. Good lead, 9 minutes out from half-time. Only one try in the first half, and that was to Mark McGaw, laid on by Andrew Eddingshausen. And those two classy centres having a ball here today at Caldex Field. And McGaw playing brilliant football out in the backs for Cronulla, and in the forwards, Alan Wilson standing pretty tall this afternoon.
Porter now giving the ball away to Wheeler, and Wheeler now 32 metres out from his own goal line. Pulled down again by little Steve Wallace. It's played back to Porter, goes across to Gavin Miller. Not allowed to get the pass away that time as he's knocked down by Ellis. Will play the ball. Michael Speechley at dummy half. And from that position, he kicks downfield once again, putting pressure on the Raiders at every occasion. Paul Martin to take this football, 10 out from his own goal line. Eddinghausen up there, so is Russell. They can't beat those two men I've mentioned, and he's pulled down centre field inside his own quarter line. A quick play the ball to Stewart across now, out now into the arms of Gary Belcher, then straight back out further along the line to Ferguson. He's knocked down. Belcher again at dummy half, wrapped up by Alan Wilson on the Raiders quarter line, quickly playing it to Steve Wallace, gives it across this time into the arms of Ellis again. Ellis carries one or two defenders for an extra couple of yards. He's 30 away from his own goal line. Wallace across to Henjack, out wide to Peter Jackson. Jackson's got his legs chopped from under him by Speechley. Belcher at dummy half, centre field. It goes back to Stewart, who elects to kick downfield. Docking's turned around to chase the football, and Docking gives a little clap as it watches it trickle over the touchline inside the Sharks quarter line.
Well, Canberra have got exactly 7 minutes in this first half to do something in the game. They've done precious little in the game. They've made a couple of breaks. They look good for 3.5 to 4 minutes of the game, but since then it's been all Cronulla, and this very underrated side are certainly making people in this Winfield Cup stand up, because they're looking pretty good at the moment. They're leading 8-0. They don't look to be in any bother at all against this Canberra side, but Canberra can come back at you and score quick tries. But this fellow, Mark McGaw, having a big one. Jackson's got him this time.
But he turned it back inside to Eddinghausen again. Now Harris is trying to match it with pace. Paul Martin's coming at him, but Eddinghausen's chopped down from behind by Paul Martin. How in the heck he got that ball back inside, I don't know. But Harris goes across, gives it out to Docking. Docking takes the initiative, goes forward. He's only 2 metres away from the Raiders goal line. He'll play it now to Gavin Miller.
Look at the overlap on the right. It's got to be a try.
And Miller sends it right out wide. It goes out then into the arms of Porter, and Porter goes over, does he? No! He passes forward. Would you believe it's been knocked on in the in goal? The ball went forward and the knock on was there. The referee is going across to the touch judge.
Talk about murder on the Orient Express. Cronulla have butchered a try. That was going to be a try for all money. It was a knock on over the goal line. Porter only had to get it out there to his winger in Glenn Coleman, and it would have been a try. Great tackle by Sam Bacco there to save a try for Canberra. They were gone for all money. That should have been a try, and it should have been a 12 points to 0 lead. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Oh, anyone but Porter. He never passes it. You wouldn't believe it. Anyone but Porter.
Yeah, it should have been a try for that Cronulla side there. They had them stretched out there on the right-hand side of the field. Short numbers, Canberra. They've been short out wide all day, and they almost paid the ultimate penalty then. Oh, luck's a fortune. They're still in this game, but only in there by the skin of their teeth.
Now the ball is with Gary Belcher. He passes it around to Bacco. Bacco can't get mobile. The big man starts his run now, but he's pulled down 2 metres over the halfway line. It's played now back to Ivan Henjack. He finds a gaping hole in the Cronulla defence. Oh, but he just stumbles. The ball's gone forward. McGaw dives on it. The advantage has been applied as far as the referee's concerned. He's lost possession now too. Both ways. It should have been a penalty then to the Cronulla side.
Right, I tend to think it was pretty sloppy play all round there, Greg. I don't know, but I do know that Canberra, once they get in an attacking position, they've just thrown possession away. Cronulla come up with a scrum win.
Oh, Barry Russell very smart around the back of the scrum, but pulled down very quickly by Bradley Clyde. It's played out to David Hatch out. Oh, good pass too from Gavin Miller on to Speechley charging forward. Jackson's there to pull him down. He'll play it to Gavin Miller from the back of the ruck. He tries it one arm pass, decides to go on his own, picks up Hatch. Hatch surrenders too as Dean Lance comes over the top to knock him down. 10 metres from on the halfway line, still in Sharky territory. Gavin Miller serves a good one up for Russell. Out it goes now to Wilson, tries to duck under Bacco's tackle, but goes to ground. Up there to play it again to Barry Russell. This time out to Dan Staines. He hits it up strongly too. Bacco's got hold of him, throws a dreadful pass, but it's gone back, picked up by Barry Russell. Well, luck's the fortune, as you said, it's been ruled forward, says the referee. What say you, Peter Peters?
Yeah, I think the referee was right on that occasion. 4 minutes out from half-time. It's 8-0 in favour of Cronulla over Canberra, and Cronulla doing it in grand style. Let's have a flash score in the Test match. Australia and the All Blacks. Ian Trent.
No change to the score. New Zealand 12, Australia 0.
Okay, New Zealand 12, Australia 0. Here it's Cronulla 8, lead Canberra 0.
And this scrum screwing around all over the place. Canberra come up with a quick pass out now to Ricky Stewart, but he's hemmed in by David Hatch very quickly. Plays it now to John Ferguson. He tries to get away from Hatch. He manages to do that. She's a hard man to tackle. He gets away from Russell. Can't get away from Gavin Miller. He's got him in the you-know-what hold, and he piles him into the ground. Up the play it back to Steve Wallers. Out to Clyde again. He's a fearless kid up towards the halfway line. Smack dab in the centre of the ground. He's knocked down. Stevie Wallers, a dummy half, sends one across to Dean Lance. He's wrapped up by Wheeler going down low to pull him down after a 5-metre gain.
Couple of minutes out from half-time. This is where Canberra lost last week against the Canterbury side. Let's see if they can put themselves back in the game in these vital moments before half-time. They are desperate for a try.
Gary Belcher plays it to Lazarus. Back now to Laurie Daly. Daly's kick is a beauty too, over the touchline between Harris and Docking, just inside the Sharks quarter line. And probably this is their last chance, Pete. In the first half, I mean.
Well, 8-0 now, one try in the game, and player down injured is the second row forward, Grant Ellis. He's way back in back play. They're going in with a 5-man scrum, the Canberra Raiders side, and they win it against the feed, but the referee wants it in again. It'll be the little fella, Barry Russell, to feed.
Yeah, little slippery Russell. He comes up now, he feeds it. It's going to be a Cronulla scrum win straight out to David Harris. The extra man's there, Speechley gives it out to McGaw. McGaw nearly through the gap, look back for Docking. Couldn't pass off as he's knocked to the ground by Gary Belcher and Daly. He'll play it now to Jonathan Docking. Cop one in the eye too for his trouble. Docking from the back of the ruck races away, and again Daly's there to pick him up. And Mark McGaw is in a bit of strife as he plays it now across to Gavin Miller. Pass across then to Coleman. Coleman's had 3 chances to dive on and manages to do exactly that just outside his own quarter line. Hatchet dummy half. Across now to Stan Staines. A strong burst 10 metres or so, 30 out from his own goal line, and pulled down by Clyde. Plays it to Hatch, gives it back once again to Malcolm Wheeler. Has knocked the football on Wheeler. Scrum to go down 35 metres out from the Cronulla line.
Okay, Mark McGaw's okay. The waterman has fixed him up. He had something in his eye, I think a bit of dirt, and he's okay now. This scrum going down. This will be the last hurrah in the first half for Canberra, and the referee wants it in again to be fed by Ivan Henjak.
Yeah, he's
tough game for him. First game back from injury. Scrum win to Canberra.
Oh, good one too. Picks up very smartly out to Belcher, then across to Ferguson. Coleman's got him wrapped up this time and drags him to ground in the first tackle. Now Gary Belcher from the back of the ruck tries to race away, and again Coleman's left there to take him. Wilson eventually coming in over the top to add the extra weight. It's played now to Steve Wallace across to Henjak. Good pass out to Clyde again. Great tackle that time by Michael Porter down low. He's played it to Steve Wallace. Goes across to Henjak again. Out to Ricky Stewart. Very quiet Ricky Stewart. Scissors movement. But the tackler was there. They shouldn't be blowing about that. There was no Shepherd. McGaw had him well and truly on the deck. Now it's played to Daly. Across to Henjak. He dummies, races through, tries to kick, manages to take possession again, but then knocks the ball forward. The advantage taken to the Sharks come up with it 30 out from their own goal line.
Well, Tim Sheens is going to have to work overtime. Tim is not a yeller and a screamer, but I think he might have a little bit to say today. Never rants and raves at his side, but he must be very disappointed with this first half performance. Sideline eye, Tony McGay. It's been all Cronulla.
Certainly has, Peter. This Canberra pack are being outplayed comprehensively. The only forward holding his spot is Dean Lance. They're all over them, Cronulla. This game's one for your life. It'll take a miracle. They could have been 20 down at this stage, Canberra.
Okay, 8-0 at half-time, and I think Tony McGay summed it up. It should have been more for Cronulla, but an 8-0 lead is not a monumental one, and I wouldn't think that Canberra would think they're out of this game. I disagree with Tony on that regard. Only try in the 14th minute to Mark McGaw. Alan Wilson has kicked 2 from 3. The Canberra Raiders yet to get on the board. They denied their opportunity to have a shot at goal. They went for the sideline and then couldn't hang on to the ball for the required number of tackles. So they've put no real pressure on this Cronulla side in the first half, but Cronulla did have the wind in the first half. The scrums in the first half 6-5 to Cronulla, and the penalties are 6-all. So for Cronulla in the first half, a try to Mark McGaw, 2 out of out of 3 for Alan Wilson and the Canberra Raiders yet to get on the board. So the game started with a penalty in the 9th minute to Wilson, a penalty goal, 2 points to nil. In the 14th minute, a try to Mark McGaw after Eddingshausen had chipped over the top and regathered, passed the ball inside, and those two have had a ball out there this afternoon. 10 minutes from half-time, a penalty goal to Wilson saw Daly in the sin bin for 5 minutes. Wilson goaled, and it was 8 points to nil at half-time. Interesting game of football. Definitely the better side leading in the first half. We'll have an update at half-time on the Australia versus All Blacks game from Ian Trent shortly, and all the VFL news. You're on 2GB News Talk 87 in Sydney, 2CA in Canberra, uninterrupted rugby league from City Ford, Valiant Glass, Manchester Unity and All Proud Home Improvements.
These days, a lot of us feel insecure about investing money on the stock market. However, there's a way to ensure your money has complete security, and that's by investing it in Manchester Unity's blue chip certificates. Government legislation stipulates that your money is invested in authorised trustee areas only. Call Manchester Unity during office hours and ask about their blue chip certificates on 267 8831. Remember, at maturity, all interest is totally free of tax.
Manchester Unity, caring for you. Answering machine is a great idea, Lefty. Now we'll show Valiant Glass once and for all.
Shh, hey, there's a customer now.
Thanks for calling Lefty and Shirl's Emergency Glass Service. Please call back during normal office hours, but not during morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, or on the weekends. Please leave your message after the tone.
My window's just been broken and you're closed? Some emergency service? Forget it. I'll call Valiant Glass.
He's phoning Valiant.
Must have been something I said.
Sick of painting your house? Let Ray Shiner at All Proud Home Improvements show you the easy way to maintain a beautiful home with Permalum Naturewood. Naturewood looks like timber, feels like timber, but it doesn't need painting. And because it's made from strong aluminium, it doesn't chip, crack or rot. So call my mate Ray Shiner at All Proud Home Improvements today and let him give you a great deal. All Proud, 750-5755. 750-5755. They're open 7 days.
Finding a good used car at the right price is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Unless you come to City Ford's used car centres at Mascot and Chullora. City Ford trade in dozens of top quality low mileage used cars, many of them driven and maintained by company executives. City Ford proudly guarantee every car. See City Ford's used car centres open 7 days a week at Botany Road, Mascot and Hume Highway, Chullora.
City Ford says yes more often.
On the Macquarie Network, here's another VFL update from Kevin Taylor.
And we're late in the third quarter of the 4 VFL games being played in Melbourne. And at VFL Park Waverley, it's narrow down there. Hawthorn 7 goals, 11.53, lead Essendon 6-7-43. Very, very tight. At Princes Park, Carlton going away with it down there against the VFL Lions. Carlton 12 goals, 6-78, lead Fitzroy 4-9-33. At Victoria Park, Carlton appear as though they've taken control of that game. They lead by 17 points over the Saints midway into the third quarter. It's Collingwood 8 goals, 10.58, leading St Kilda 5 goals, 11.41. Whilst at the MCG, this is a ripper of a game, only 1 point in it there, where the Richmond Tigers, 12 goals, 9.81, lead North Melbourne, 12 goals, 8.80. And just going back to VFL Park Waverley, Dunstall's kicked 3 goals, which of course takes him to 97 for the season, only 3 goals away. But Hawthorn 53 lead Hawthorn 53 lead Essendon.
With his side's performance, probably if he was disappointed in any regard, it'd be in the area of finishing off. And in the other dressing room, Tim Sheens, the Canberra coach, would be disgusted with their handling performance in the first half and just their commitment. Max Krilich, the former Kangaroo captain, joins us for a half-time summary. Max, a good performance by Cronulla. Maybe they should be more points ahead, but Canberra, a lot of work to do to even get into this game.
Certainly Canberra have got a lot of work to do, Zorba. Eight points to nil. Canberra aren't out of it yet, but it shouldn't have been 8-0. It should be at least 12 to 14 to nil. It was a great covering tackle by Big Sammy Bacco. Got the ball, great covering tackle on Michael Porter, which stopped the try, and there was good stuff to see Sam Bacco do that work. But then again, what was he doing out there? Now, where was Jackson and Daly? And I think Daly had gone to the sin bin. Or where was Johnny Ferguson? Eddinghausen's made to break down the middle of the field. Everyone came into the centre of the field. No one was out wide. Cronulla should have scored for sure. But why was Big Sammy Bacco way out there in the boondocks? He should be around the middle of the ruck, controlling the middle of the ruck area. And that's the problem. You know, Gavin Miller's having a field day out there. He's throwing some lovely passes. He's continuing his good form. And he's got two very good runners in Alan Wilson and David Hatch, Barry Russell, Speechley, all these players running off him. These two centres, Mark McGaw and Andrew Eddingshausen, you know, as two club centres go, you wouldn't find better two club centres. The way they complement each other with sheer brilliance and pace, you know, it's worth the admission alone just to come and watch these two guys, beautiful runners, run with the ball. And
they're certainly combining well today, Max, and I think that's the highlight of Cronulla's attack. They've improved their understanding right throughout the season. And McGaw is so big, he's hanging onto the ball and holding the passes up beautifully for Eddingshausen to come through. And ET's showing an inclination today to want to do more.
Well, they're getting better too, Pete. You know, they're both having state of origin games now, test matches and these World Cup games and all these representing games behind their belt. You know, McGaw and Eddinghausen will only get better, and that's a very big credit for the Cronulla side. But, you know, Jackson's left me a little bit in the bewilderment area. He's trying to get rid of the ball every time he's got the ball. Consequently, he dropped 4 balls in a row. And for a player of Peter Jackson's ability, he shouldn't be trying to unload all the time under pressure. And by him doing that, Canberra can't sustain any pressure, Peter.
OK, well, they've got to score first in the second half or they're out of business. We saw Canterbury come back in the second half last week after being down at half-time. I just wonder if this Canberra side, this is as bad as I've seen them play all year.
Well, it is a bad showing by the Canberra side, but they've got too many good players. You know, Gary Belcher made a fine break down the sideline here, you know, good 40-metre burst and nothing eventuated. You know, if they're going to want to win this game, any burst that any player makes, they've got to make sure they score these tries. But they're not out of it, Peter. 8-0's not enough lead yet.
No, certainly not. And Canberra got the wind in the second half, and they'll be turning this Canberra side around. Reserve grade 24-12 to Cronulla. Under 21s 10-4 to Canberra. We're going to take a break. I'll join Hollywood for the second half out of Caltex Field. Good game of football, good crowd. Hope you can join us after the break.
These days, a lot of us feel insecure about investing money on the stock market. However, there's a way to ensure your money has complete security, and that's by investing it in Manchester Unity's blue chip certificates. Government legislation stipulates that your money is invested in authorised trustee areas only. Call Manchester Unity during office hours and ask about their blue chip certificates on 267 8831. Remember, at maturity, all interest is totally free of tax.
Manchester Unity, caring for you.
Are you in the market for a good used car and sick of checking the classifieds? Come to City Ford's used car centres at Mascot and Chullora. They take in hundreds of great cars as trade-ins every month. The quality is high, the prices are competitive, all the cars are guaranteed, and there's easy-to-arrange financing. See City Ford at Botany Road, Mascot, or Hume Highway, Chullora. They're open all weekend.
City Ford says yes more often. City Ford says yes more often.
Morning. Morning. I'm the Queen's Equerry, and she's just sent me down from Buckingham Palace to pick up a few bottles of Seaview Tawny Port.
Buckingham Palace is in England?
In you?
Yes.
Oh, look, I'm the Governor-General's servant then, and he sent me down to get him a few bottles of Seaview Tawny Port.
The Governor-General hasn't got a servant.
Well, actually, I'm from ASIO, and I'm in disguise.
Look, you're not from ASIO either.
I am. Look, I've got the sunglasses on and the shoes on the wrong foot, look.
You're not from ASIO.
Okay, look, I'm not very important at all. My wife just sent me down for a bottle of Seaview Tawny Port.
Why didn't you say so in the first place?
I don't know.
Some people are very trying when they go to extraordinary lengths to try Seaview Tawny Port. You only have to go as far as your closest bottle shop.
You probably know my wife then.
I don't think so.
My wife is Sophie Loren.
Your wife's not Sophia Loren.
Isn't she?
No.
She said she was Italian.
Seaview Tawny Port. Worth trying for.
Let's go back to Caltex Field for the second half of Cronulla and Canberra. League 88 is brought to you by All Proud Home Improvements, City Ford, Manchester Unity and Valiant Glass. Here's Greg and Peter.
Welcome back to Caltex Field. Second half coming up here, and what a second half it should be. This is going to be do or die for the Canberra side in the second half because they can't afford to go down in successive weeks, and that's looking at them and looking to be a reality for them right at this moment. Half-time, 8-0, a good lead to Cronulla. We thought that before kick-off that it was an 8-point lead, and that's exactly what they've got. They've played the better football in the first half, the Cronulla side, and they deserve that lead. They've looked pretty enterprising surprising. Their backlines look sharper. I can't believe the gaps that are out wide in this Canberra side today. Normally their backline is their strength, but today it's proved to be their weakness. They're getting lots of numbers on them out wide. Ferguson having a particularly poor game this afternoon. Peter Jackson not fit, and really he shouldn't be out there for the second half, but he's such a courageous fellow that maybe his desire to assist his side could eventually go against them. And fitting well, he's a mighty fine player. But if you're not fitting well and you're marking Eddingshausen and Magore like they're playing today, you can get yourself into trouble. And that's exactly what's happened to this Canberra side today. I know how the Green Machine would love the man being interviewed down on the sideline now by television cameras, Mal Meninga, to be available to be in this game. And they're missing Meninga's experience and strength out wide. And he's the player that I think this Canberra side are missing most this afternoon. Laurie Daly in the centres has been found wanting a little bit as this very experienced and very talented Cronulla back line gets into full movement this afternoon. They've been around a while in Sydney football now, Eddingshausen and Magore and Speechley and Russell and Docking too. And they're the sort of players that are just making every post a winner this afternoon here at Caltex Field. It's going to be interesting to see if Jackson indeed does reappear for the second half. Our sideline eye, Tony McGay, is down in the sheds at the moment checking on the news, and we'll bring it to you as soon as we have it. But the players should be coming through the tunnel now. We've had we've had a 12-minute break now here at Caltex Field, and the players should be on the field now, but they're not. Cronulla, I think Greg Hartley have done enough to suggest that they can go on and win this game.
Well, at this stage, Peter, that's the indication. They're very busy, Eddinghausen and Mark Magore, and with solid support from Jonathan Docking, they're winning it out wide, mate.
They certainly are. Let's go down to our sideline eye, Tony McGay, for all the news on what's happened in the sheds. Tony.
Well, Peter, no changes to either side. Probably Canberra can't afford any. Jackson's still going to come back. I noticed Brent Todd's on the bench. They could probably use the forward replacement. I just gained the impression that Canberra are a little bit down on morale, mate. Last week's loss to Canterbury, then again that injury to Meninga. They're certainly not playing like a side in contention, are they?
They're certainly not, but there's still 40 minutes to go, and a quick try in the second half could turn it around for them. So the Cronulla side back on the field, and they're led out there by their captain, David Hatch, who's been an inspiring leader for them this afternoon. Very keen side here, Cronulla, and their combatants, the Canberra Raiders, about to reappear now with it all to do in the second half. Big Sam Bacco's got to get more involved. So too have players like particularly the 5'8", Ricky Stewart, who's had a very quiet one today up against the very talented 5'8" Cronulla Sutherland in Michael Speechley. So they're the two players. I think Belcher's got to come in more and be involved, and it's Lance and Belcher who lead the Canberra side back for the second half. And the second row forward, Bradley Clyde, just tapping the 5'8", the centre three-quarter, Laurie Daly on the back, saying, "Come on, we need a big one from you." Jackson's he's limping out for the second half too. They're gambling with him, and so far it's cost them a try in this game. Okay, here we go for the second half. Here's Hollywood all revved up and ready to go through 2CA in Canberra and 2GB News Talk 87 in Sydney.
It's amazing, Peter, when you consider just how important this game is, and when you've got players on the sideline that have been filling in for the Canberra Raiders right throughout the year, that they're taking such a huge punt putting Peter Jackson back on. But so far, in my opinion, I think Bradley Clyde's been probably one of their best out there this afternoon. He hits the line beautifully. His defence rate has been exceptionally good this afternoon. But you're right, there's a few of them out there that have been found wanting this afternoon, and they've got 40 minutes to redeem themselves. There's the kick-off now by Alan Wilson. Taken by Laurie Daly, 5 out from his own goal line. He brings it out some 15 metres or so, gets himself mobile, but then again the big hit's in over the top by Dan Staines, puts him down. Steve Wallace gives it back now to Clyde, the kid I mentioned. He's striding out up over the halfway line on his Pat Malone. He gives it eventually back to Ricky Stewart, who caught up with him, and Stewart's pulled down 40 metres away from the Cronulla goal line. He plays it now. It goes to Steve Wallace, out to Bacco. Bacco again is put away. A beautiful tackle by Staines down low. He plays it back. It goes to Steve Wallace, to Henjack, out to Ricky Stewart, then on to Laurie Daly. Daly straightens up the defence. Wilson comes across in company with Eddinghausen, and he eventually is pulled to ground. Peter Jackson, a dummy half, gives it out now to Grant Ellis. He hits it up to the defensive line of Cronulla on a strong burst with one tackle left to go. Up the plate to Steve Wallace, goes across to Henjack, out wide again to Stewart. Stewart grubber kicks through. It's going to be wrapped up by Jonathan Docking. Plenty of room to do just that too. And another good tackle by Clyde. Didn't hang on to him. Docking up to have another go. And eventually he's pulled down by Glenn Lazarus.
Well, good start to Canberra to the second half, but we can't get sucked into thinking that they didn't do that in the first half, because they did. They started well and then died, and they can't afford to do that in the second half. Good bust by Bradley Clyde, 18 years of age, a ton of potential. I was disappointed he had to slow up. He didn't have anyone with him, and the play was finally carried on by Ricky Stewart, but then Canberra coughed up possession. Now here's Dan Staines with a very strong run.
Oh, beautiful pass back to Harris too, as in support. He makes Gary Belcher chase too. Oh, and he's left too. No support, but Belcher was the last line of defence for Canberra and pulls him down. Now Russell, a dummy half, gives it out to Gavin Miller. Miller strides for the line. Had a look back. Speechley was with him, couldn't get it away. One left to go up the plat. Speechley a dummy half across to Russell. Russell's going to go over for the Cronulla Sharks. Adjacent to the left-hand upright, and that's the ball game. They're a a sick and sorry luck, Peter the Green Machine.
Yeah, they certainly are at the moment, Greg, and Cronulla just turned defence into attack there. They've gone from one end of the field, defending very strongly, straight to the other end. A beautiful bust there by the Cronulla side, and then a magic pass by Speechley onto little Russell, and Russell went in and scored the try 2 minutes into the second half after Canberra had looked the goods early. The Cronulla side have come back and gone bang, and a very good try scorer Barry Russell, but Gavin Miller had gone close after a very good burst by Coleman, and Cronulla not panicking when they get into a position. They're playing the ball, they're using up their 6 tackles, and they're looking pretty darn good here this afternoon. And this kick should be easy for Wilson, and 14-0. I don't think Canberra can come back.
Well, 12 metres out, Alan Wilson, and shouldn't be any trouble at all for him. My poor old mate, I think you're going to have to transfer the mock away from me now. Champ, you did pick Canberra 2 weeks in a row, Peter.
Yeah, I certainly did, and you picked them last week and they lost too, so I wouldn't be transferring anything, Greg, and you've got a 13-week record, which
that was broken.
No, it was broken, but you've 13-week record. That's 3 and a bit months, mate. I don't think you'll ever have the mock taken off you. You deserve it, and you've got it forever. The living mock, Greg Hartley, still lives.
Alan Wilson coming in, and he hits it sweetly straight over the bar for the extra 2. 14 points to block.
Yeah, 14 points to 0 with a conversion by the second rower, Alan Wilson, right between the uprights. 14 points to 0 now, and that's a terrific lead for the Cronulla Sharks. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Oh, soft as marshmallow, that one. That was an ominous try. Russell just strolled over there, shot this mob. They'll be in trouble now. Look at this semi-final now.
Yeah, well, they've got, we thought 2 easy games against East and the Gold Coast to come, but they might be just about running out of players. I don't know. I'm not going to write them off yet in this game. They need a couple of converted tries to get in it, and the second half's only 3 minutes old, but Cronulla are certainly looking the goods.
Oh, Mark McGaw stopped in his tracks. Beautiful tackle by Dean Lance inside the Sharks quarter line. David Hatch, as Pete said, leading by example again, knocked to the ground on his own quarter. It's played now back to Porter. Gives it across to Jonathan Docking, and there's a little fella as Ellis comes in over the top to put him down. He plays it back to Michael Porter, strides away. Oh, Backo comes in to cream him just outside the Sharks quarter line. He'll play it now. It goes back to Wheeler across to Gavin Miller, and again Miller puts the ball well down into the Raider territory. Beautiful wrapped up by Paul Martin. He straightens up the attack and is pulled down by Staines down around the bootlaces with Hatch over the top. It's played now to Gary Belcher. He turns the ball back inside to Peter Jackson, looking for an opening, but it closes up too as he's knocked to the ground 10 metres short of the halfway line. Still in Raider territory. Ferguson steps away from one, gets away from Speechley, offloads out now to Clyde, who gives a further pass across to Stewart. He's pulled down 2 metres into Sharky territory.
Grant Ellis limps off, and Ashley Gilbert's on in, jumper number 28 for the Canberra Raiders. Henjack up the blind side, turns it back inside to Ferguson, but he's well and truly wrapped up. This Canberra side going nowhere at the moment. They trail by 14 points to 0.
And Gilbert now charging forward. The first run this afternoon for him as he's going to be knocked to the ground some 30 metres away. One tackle left to go to the Raiders. Gets up to play the ball forward. Gilbert, there was no marker. Now the change of possession takes place, and we will see David Harris playing it for the Sharks. Back to Michael Porter. He's quickly wrapped up by Gilbert. Still trapped on their own quarter line, the Sharks. It's Jonathan Docking giving it across now to Malcolm Wheeler. A strong burst, 8 metres or so for Wheeler, some 30 away from his own goal line. Plays it again back to Jonathan Docking. A good pass across to Russell, out to Speechley, steps inside one, but he's mincemeat two over the top. Dean Lance once again, ball and all. It's played to Russell. He gives it inside to Staines. Staines travelling down the centre of the ground, but he's pulled down still 30 metres out from the Cronulla goal line. He quickly plays it to Docking, out to David Hatch once again, and Clyde this time combining with Steve Wallace over the top to stop the run. He's up the plat. Porter at dummy dummy half. Across to Gavin Miller. Doesn't kick this time. Finds Speechley out wide. Then Alan Wilson. He's got McGaw with him. Wilson drops it off the end of the toe. This time there's a chase for possession of the ball. And it's back Winfield. Oh, Wilson dives on the football miraculously. Gets up. They go again. He's lost the ball back towards his own goal line. Hatch gives it out to Speechley. Oh, that's another great Cronulla try. And that is the living end of them. They are dead set gone.
Yeah, they certainly are. Michael Speechley in, and a brilliant Cronulla try this afternoon. That has put it beyond any doubt. And there could have been a bit of a worry about a forward, about a knock on close to the Canberra goal line, but brilliant stuff by this Cronulla side. They've rattled on another try, 2 tries in the second half, and only 6 minutes in the second half, and the Cronulla side go in for yet another try. They lead now by 18 points to nil with a kick to come, and what a hiding this is now. 3 tries to nil.
Well, the kick now to be taken by Alan Wilson, but he just leapt forward for the dive for the ball. Just realised exactly what was on at that time. But McGaw again peeked down that far flank with the kick, kept the ball alive to give his side an opportunity.
Greg, that was Alan Wilson doing great things there. He kicked ahead, regained possession, and made sure the ball stayed alive. And this guy today is having a fantastic game of football. Alan Wilson. The crowd, 11,184 here to see this Saturday game become an absolute massacre now for the Canberra Raiders. 18-0 with a kick to come from Wilson right in front of the uprights, and he is having an absolute blinder this afternoon.
Yeah, 11 metres out now, as you said, smack dab in front. They're being humiliated now, the Canberra side, and just possibly Cronulla are going to put them out of business because they'll go to 30. The Raiders stay on 26, so they're in all sorts of bother. Well, this kick now to be taken, 11 metres out, smack dab in front. And they're all got their hands on the hips, the Raiders, at the moment. Not much talk taking place out there either, I might add. The trainer out there giving some instructions to Dean Lance, who's trying to pass them on, but the enthusiasm's knocked out of him. The 2 points again go to the Sharkies, and Wilson, as you said, having a blinder.
Yeah, he certainly is. 20 points to nil now here. It's a massacre at Shark Park. Let's go to Concord, where we've got Ian Trent covering the action there. Trenty.
And a penalty to Grant Fox, and he's kicking for another from right in front. New Zealand 15, leading Australia 3. The kick has gone over. It is now New Zealand 18, Australia 3.
18-3 in favour of New Zealand over Australia. Okay, here it's 20 points to nil in favour of Cronulla over Canberra. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
They're getting blown away, Canberra. Wilson prominent, and so was McGaw again. 2 outstanding performers. McGaw first to the ball, but Wilson like a little drover's dog.
Yeah, he's certainly having a terrific game today for this Cronulla side, and they're enthusiastic, and they're going to retain their joint leadership of the Winfield Cup. A great performance by Cronulla this afternoon. And the Sharks, who would have thought that after 20 rounds of the Winfield Cup, they'd be level leaders.
Gavin Miller weaving some more magic with his kick downfield, forcing the fullback Gary Belcher to go across. He just manages to get to the ball before it hits the touchline, comes back inside, beats one tackle, but then Eddinghausen up very quickly to pull him down. Daly at dummy half, sends a long one across into the arms that time of the wing 3/4. Paul Martin, who was pulled down, he quickly plays the ball back. It goes to Lazarus, steps over 1 or 2. He's made a bust down the centre of the ground, back to Daly. But Daly now is pulled down 34 metres out from the Raiders goal line. It goes to Henjack, long pass across to Stewart, then out to Peter Jackson. Jackson keeps it alive, but a penalty kick given to the Raiders, and the referee, well, from the play of the ball, what signal was that, Peter? Inside the 5?
Yeah, it was, Greg. He's ruled they're inside the 5, interfering with the man playing the ball. 20 points to nil in favour of Cronulla over Canberra, and referee Graham Annesley having a pretty good game. And this Canberra side, really, Jackson's down injured now. He really shouldn't have played in this game, and there's no one wanting to charge onto the ball. Backo takes it up now. They're desperate for a try, this Canberra side. This is a humiliation for them.
Up there to play it, Backo, back to Steve Wallace, gives it out to Lazarus. Lazarus was going to flick it away, but his legs again chopped from under him by Alan Wilson. He plays it to Steve Wallace, and Dean Lance leading by example, charging down the centre of the ground, but again stopped by Gavin Miller. Steve Wallace again at dummy half to Henjack, out to Stewart. Long one across to Jackson, can't handle the football again. And poor old Pete's in the wars as far as the physical side of it is concerned, and he's got dropsy also to add to his woes.
Yeah, he's not doing himself any good out there today, Greg. I think they'd be better off putting a fit player on. I'm a rap for Peter Jackson. I think he's a terrific player and a hell of a nice bloke.
So am I.
And he's obviously just taking that club spirit a bit too far this afternoon, because he's, I don't think he should be there. And
Craig Bellamy's been a centre and a good one too for them, Pete. He could go into that position now.
Yeah, Kevin Walters was there last week,
exactly.
and they've got players that can play in that spot. They could even put O'Sullivan on, and move one of the other players out wider.
Yep. Okay, a penalty kick given to the Cronulla Sharks again against the Raiders in the scrum. Screwing it, says the man. And a penalty differential, of course, 32 metres out from the Sharks goal line. Porter comes up. Gavin Miller's going to kick for the touchline here at Caltex Field. And, well, I don't know what you can say about the poor Raiders. They're going to limp back down to Canberra, to Queen Anne, Seaford, their home ground. And the wounds are big here this afternoon as Miller easily finds touch. The free kick to be taken 2 metres short of the halfway line. Still in Sharky territory. Coleman coming over to do the honours. Taps it, decides to go across. There was a line, but he goes through, straight through him. Oh, shocking defence from the Raiders. Coleman takes off. Belcher goes across, eventually wraps him up 18 metres out from the Canberra goal line. He's up the play at Porter now. Slips it away. Out to Speechley. Once then on to Jonathan Docking. Docking wrapped up some 12 metres away from the Canberra goal line. Gavin Miller, a dummy half. What's he going to do? He offloads out the Porter, a long one across. Now it goes to Wheeler. Wheeler is 8 metres away from the Raiders goal line. Porter again, a dummy half. The ball wrapped up under the right arm. Goes forward, comes in away from the touchline. Still 8 away from the Raiders goal line. Gavin Miller, a dummy half. A long pass across to Speechley. Oh, and a great tackle by Dean Lance. Stops Speechley. He's up the play at the Miller. Drops it off the end of the toe. It bounces awkwardly for everyone except for Jackson, who bumps off one. Had a look for support. Starts to go again, and Docking from behind drags him down 18 metres out from his own goal line.
Mark McGaw's calling for assistance. He got bumped off by Jackson there. His arm went up and he wants assistance. He's lying down now 12 metres out from the, or 10 metres out from the Canberra goal line, and he was hit in the shoulder charge there by Jackson. Jackson had the ball and saw McGaw coming at him for the big hit, and he turned and prepared himself, and it looks like a leg injury at the moment. We'll check on Mark McGaw now, but it's 20 points to 0 as the Raiders go up to the halfway mark. Lazarus has had a good game.
Oh, and he gives it back now to Peter Jackson. Jackson turns it back inside to Henjack, but he's going to be wrapped up by Harris, who snuck in from the wing, and lucky he did because they were stretched on that occasion, the Sharks. One left to go to the Raiders. Wallers gives a good pass out to Stewart, who chips over the top. One man takes it, and it was Docking. Man going through. Again, Dean Lance knocked it on, so he got them both ways. Scrum to go down just outside the Cronulla quarter line. McGaw up on his feet, but boy.
It's looking like Gallipoli here. Dane Sorensen going on for Cronulla, getting a great ovation as Dan Staines has had a terrific game. He's tackled his heart out today. He limps off the field, or he's carried off now. The Cronulla doctor, Peter Maloof, helps him off there too. And, it's a walking wounded here at Caltex Field. But the Sharks lead by 20 points to 0 with only 13 minutes gone in the second half.
Penalty kick to the Raiders. Differential. Get your head in the scrum, says the referee earnestly to Michael Porter. This penalty given to the Raiders on the Sharks quarter line. Differential, of course, once again. Low kick gains some sort of advantage. They take the tap immediately by Jackson. Gives it across to Belcher. Belcher's through the gap. Turns it back inside to Jackson, and he's gone over for a try. Forces the ball now. Consolation prize to the Raiders. How easy was that?
Yeah, it was a good try to Peter Jackson. It was good work by both Gary Belcher and Peter Jackson. Now they've used that move at training, obviously. It was a rehearsed move and a darn good one too. Very well thought out. Jackson indicated he was going to go for the sideline. Then he took a quick tap. He had Belcher racing up the blind side. Belcher knew Jackson was inside. He passed the ball back inside to Jackson, and he's raced in and scored the try. A very good one. And the Canberra Raiders, after 14 minutes of the second half, finally get on the board.
This kick now to be taken by Gary Belcher. 20 metres in from touch. Pete and I are right behind this one. And that try, well, gee whiz, it was so simple, as Peter said. A planned move.
It was a good one. They're not going to give up. And,
they never will give up.
If they can grab another, if he can kick this one and grab another converted try, there's plenty of time in this game. We've seen sides fold from 20-0 down before. Not too many, but I don't think Cronulla will either. But Canberra have got to get into this game, and you never know. They can score plenty of tries.
Yeah, they can, but I think it's shot, Peter. But Belcher comes in now. He slams this one straight over the dot. So there's some sort of incentive for them.
20 points to 6 now with Gary Belcher. That's his first kick for the day. Belcher kicks the conversion of the try he had a lot to do with, scored by Peter Jackson, and it's 20 points to 6 on the Panasonic scoreboard. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Yeah, good plan move. I reckon they've been watching Graham Lowe's mob on television the other night. Similar move, but it had the right result. Very well constructed.
Yeah, it certainly was. 3 tries to 1, but Cronulla have been far the better side this afternoon. But a long way to go in this ball game here at Caltex Field. 25 minutes to go here. It's 20 points to 6 in favour of Cronulla as Wilson kicks off deep downfield.
Yeah, straight stop by Paul Martin on the boot. Picks it up, tries to go forward. some 15 metres out from his own line. Hatch puts him down. It's played now to Clyde. Goes across to Dean Lance. He's wrapped up too. We'll get up and play the ball. Dane Sorensen was in there for the hit. He'll play it now to Steve Wallers. Goes across now straight out to Ashley Gilbert. Gilbert's wrapped up on his own quarter line centre field. Michael Speechley, first man down around the legs to stop the run. It's gone to Steve Wallers. Out now to Lazarus. Hits it up strongly. Sorensen once again over the top to take him ball and all. Plays it back to Wallers. A good pass then to Jackson. Jackson gets a hurried kick in downfield. He was harassed by Speechley on the run through, but Jonathan Docking allowing it to bounce on 3-4 occasions. Eventually the ball stops. He picks it up. He passes a long one. Dangerous too for mine. Out to Harris, who takes it, and Harris is knocked down on the Sharks quarter line. Jonathan Docking, a dummy half from that position. He tries to go away on his own. Gilbert's there to stop him after a 4-metre gain. We'll play the ball. Back it goes to Porter. Once again out to Wheeler. Wheeler hits it up strongly, doing the heavy work for the Sharks, and he's stopped by Sam Bacco. Plays it now to Porter. A long pass across now into the arms of Dane Sorensen. He bites the dust head first too, and he plays it back to Porter. Porter races across field, gives it out to Gavin Miller. Then on to Alan Wilson. Tries to fend off Bacco, but to no avail. He's 8 metres short of the halfway line. One tackle left to go to the Sharks. Up to play the ball, and he'll play it to Gavin Miller. Miller steps around one, can't get past another, gives it back to Wilson. Wilson's kick is far too hard over the touchline, and a few little silly things creeping into the Sharkies game now.
Yes, Greg, one thing that they have had today is plenty of discipline. They haven't panicked at any stage, and they've done their job well. But with a 20 points to nil lead, it's only natural that you're slacking off a bit, and you just can't afford to do that against Canberra. If you're slacking off, they'll come at you. Now, they're down by 20 points to 6, and another converted try, as I said before, would put them in the game with some hope.
A long pass across to Belcher after the scrum win. Oh, Jackson's hit by McGaw and put down. He'll get up and play the ball.
20 points to 6, the scoreline. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
They don't concede a blade of grass, Cronulla. They haven't all year. Anything you get off them, you've got to prize them out like they're out of trenches. They're very hard to score against.
Okay, and here's a Canberra player down injured. Ricky Stewart down injured, and the Cronulla centre, Mark McGaw, calling for attention for...
Ricky hit his head on his knee, Pete, as he went in for the tackle. There was nothing in the tackle, but his head did collide with Mark's knee.
Okay, and David Hatt screaming out orders there for the Cronulla side. He's pointed to the scoreboard and the clock, and on the sideline we've got a replacement warming up for the Canberra side. It's Craig Bellamy, very experienced player. He'll be coming into the side now for the Canberra Raiders, and sitting down, a very disconsolate figure on the sideline is Mal Meninga with his left arm in a sling, and what's shocking like that is for Big Mal. He's down there on the sideline talking to Bellamy just before Bellamy goes onto the field. Probably just saying to him, you know, there's a gap or two out wide. We've got nothing to lose now. Come on, another try, and we're in the game. He'll be giving him some encouragement for sure. He's that type of man. Great man, Mal Meninga, and a terrible blow to him and to rugby league and the Canberra Raiders. Everyone concerned that he's out of our game now for a long time, and no man deserves the luck that he's had over the last year and a bit.
Okay, the Raiders in possession once again. It goes across to Wallace to Henjack. Good pass out to Ashley Gilbert. Puts his shoulder into McGaw. McGaw is beaten on that occasion, but then he's taken by Wheeler. He's up again to play it. Wallace a dummy half. He gives it to Jackson. Jackson elects to put the ball down Sharky territory, and well down it is too. Nearly back into the in-goal area. Docking's back there to take it. He's not taking a chance of knocking it on, and when actually into the in-goal area, he manages to get out some 8 metres or so before he's got his legs chopped from under him by Bradley Clyde. Harris from the back of the ruck tries to fend off Lazarus. Lazarus pulls him down 10 away from the Sharks goal line. Now it's out to Michael Porter. A long pass across to Dane Sorensen. They're doing it a bit tough now, the Sharks, trapped inside their own quarter line on tackle 3. He'll play it once again to Porter. A long pass then over to Malcolm Wheeler, and again pulled down, still short of his own quarter line. Gets up the play it. Porter again a dummy half from that position. Manages to get to the white strip on the 22-metre line. One tackle left to go to the Sharks. It's played to Docking. Goes across now out to David Hatch, and he gives a good pass to Russell. Russell's little legs are pumping, but he was in mid-air. Jackson had hold of him by the shirt tail.
Well, Cronulla's willing to run the football. He's got to give possession up. That should be a penalty to Canberra. I mean, he ordered him to play it, and he's given him 2 opportunities to give the ball over, and he didn't do it. That's a mandatory penalty that the referee should have given to Canberra on that occasion.
Well, the referee was at fault because he was too far away with the crowd screaming, and he didn't realise the change was on, but he's made amends now, giving Canberra the penalty. And the other thing that he's made a mistake with 2 minutes ago too is when that player was down, he should have picked up possession of the ball, brought it across, across and have some other Canberra player play the ball.
Okay, Greg Davies is the replacement player for the Cronulla side now, so they're sending out the trips. Alan Fitzgibbon sending on Dane Sorensen a few moments ago, and now Greg Davies is 2 fresh reserves as the Cronulla Sharks show signs of wilting a little bit. Here come the Canberra side now. Lazarus.
Oh, back to Wallers, a long pass, then back to Dean Lance. It was a scissors movement around the corner, but he's pulled down now, Lazarus. 8 metres out from the Sharks goal line. Wallers again a dummy half, sends a good one across the back, charging forward, but again 5 metres out for he's held up from the Sharks goal line. Henjack again a dummy half, decides to run on his own. He falls. No one over the top of him, then a token claim by Sorensen. Now it's gone across to Wallers, out to Jackson again, and he's pinned to the earth over the top, but beautiful tackle by Wheeler. It's played across now into the arms of Stewart. Stewart can't get past the defence too of the Cronulla side, and he's pulled down by Sorensen. It's played now to Wallers, a long pass to Henjack, another one right out to Clyde. It's bounced off 1 or 2. He's going to play 6 more tackles. Off the knee it came of Harris. Now it's played. Backo from the back of the ruck, charges forward, turns it inside to Ashley Gilbert. Gilbert's there, but he's not going to get it. Yes, he's going to get it down. No, he's held up, and he's knocked it on also.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He lost the ball over the line, Greg. That was the try that the Raiders needed. 18 minutes out. If they could have got that one, they were back in the game, but Lady Luck has just turned it back on the Canberra side this afternoon. That should have been a try to Ashley Gilbert. He was over the line, couldn't get the ball down, and I don't think they're going to get another chance this afternoon to get back into the game. That was their opportunity, and it's gone astray. Speechley off for Cronulla, replaced by Greg Davies.
And Malcolm Wheeler carrying 4 players on his back up towards the halfway line. It's played now to Porter, out to McGorry, split him open again to Kidd until he came to the last line again. Gary Belcher was there to knock him down. He'll get up to play the ball. Hatch takes off again from the back of the ruck, tries to link up out wide. He does with Gavin Miller. Good skills out now. It goes to Wilson to Docking, then out to Eddinghausen, a long one on to Harris. Then he's got a man outside. It's Davies. He goes for the line, and it's momentum, but it's been ruled forward. Ruled forward.
No doubt about it, a forward pass there, and the referee picked it up early. Let's any joy at the Rugby Union Ian Trent update?
None whatsoever, Peter. New Zealand 24, Australia 3. Fox, the conversion to Gallagher's try.
Okay, and Ivan Henjack, a very sick and sorry Ivan Henjack, as he goes to the sideline for the Canberra side, and in his comeback to rugby league has been short-lived. He's back on the sideline and back in pain. Sideline eye, Tony McGahey, Craig Bellamy, the replacement.
Yes, certainly Henjack, a recurrence of that stomach injury that he's had before. Ivan's in a lot of pain, probably another guy that shouldn't have played. He's off with the same injury.
Okay, Tony, that try denied Canberra correct decision, and that would have put them back in the game.
Yes, certainly with 15 minutes to go, they would have had a chance, but still, I can't dispute the better side's going to win this.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay, we've got the Raiders in possession by Stewart. Gives it out to Craig Bellamy. Quick hands out to Laurie Daly. McGaw's got him wrapped up, but he goes back inside to Bellamy. Across now to Ricky Stewart. Out to Gary Belcher. All dressed up. Nowhere to go. No yards gained. Off again to Lazarus. Lazarus gives it away to Backo. Backo's allowed to stand. Still offloads beautifully this time. Out to Stewart, who was in support. Gets around 1 or 2. But Gavin Miller comes in now to take him over the top. Some 15 metres with short of the halfway line with 1 tackle left to go. Now he plays it to Wallers. Goes across to Jackson again, getting a kick downfield, forcing Jonathan Docking to scurry across to take it on the second bounce. 4 out from his own line. He turns. He's got Greg Davies with him. Decides to go on his own. Now he gives it to Davies. Davies had a look back to see if he wasn't put out of business, but Craig Bellamy did the job on Docking, so he had no one to offload to. Barry Russell picks it up from the back of the ruck. A penalty kick to the Cronulla side, and that time all the Raiders just moseyed on up in front of the referee, and it was a fair penalty. Centre field, 28 metres out from the Sharks goal line.
20 points to 6 in favour of the Cronulla side over Canberra, and a vital win for the Sharks. They've certainly strung together some success in this round of the Winfield Cup. It's been a magnificent second round of the Winfield Cup for the Cronulla side, and they have had less defeats than any side in the Winfield Cup this year. A couple of draws and a couple of get-out-of-jail games for them. One in particular against South Sydney with a penalty goal right on the bell by Sean Watson, but it's certainly been a big year for the Sharks. It's not over for them yet. They haven't won a comp. They've been in since 1967. They came in with Penrith in 67, and wouldn't it be ironic if the two clubs that came in together in 67 indeed played the grand final this year? I don't think it'll happen, but it's a possibility on the way they're going at the moment.
Well, now we've got Wheeler now trying to offload again, but Ashley Gilbert over the top with Dean Lance. Bit of a dust bowl out there now, centre field. Gavin Miller Oh, he gives another pass back to Docking. Forward pass that time from an onside position. Came Porter, and the referee has blown it up. So a scrum will go down 4 metres over the halfway line on the side of the Raiders.
15 minutes left for play at Caltex Field, and it's 20 points to 6 in favour of Cronulla over Canberra. The green side, the Canberra side, get possession of the football. Ace Belcher.
Oh, and a great break. They're not going to catch him. McGaw can't get to him. Or can he get to him? Oh, he can't. Gary Belcher's gone over to score a solo try. A good one, too, after the scrum win. And he ran some more, 45 yards, and not a bad try, Peter.
Not a bad try.
What
That's
a good try.
Good try by a classy footballer. And that try that was denied them a few moments ago by Ashley Gilbert could take on enormous proportions. That's 3 tries to 2 now, and after leading by 8-0 at half-time, going to 20-0, this Canberra side have come back. It's now 20 points to 10 with a kick to come, and we've got 14 minutes left for play here at Caltex Field. So Belcher, who scored the try, a brilliant individual try from a scrum win. He's raced more than 50 metres to score that solo try. Geez, a classy player, Gary Belcher. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Oh, glorious try. Isn't he a quality player? They were dead and buried. Belcher, one of the few players in the game that could put a try in like that. Absolutely sensational.
Yeah, certainly was, and they're still in this game, particularly if he can kick this one. So it's 20 points to 10 now. So the Raiders sneaking up a little bit in this second half.
Yeah, the other mob better pull their fingers out too. As you said earlier, they get a sniff of it.
I didn't say that. I hate that expression.
I didn't say you said that. I said if they give them an opportunity in the second half, they'll take it with both hands.
I still hate that expression. It's very gutterish.
Well, you didn't say it, and it wasn't meant to be gutterish.
Well, it certainly is, but from where you come, it doesn't surprise me.
Don't you start talking about where I come from. Belcher comes in now, shocking-looking kick, waved away to the left-hand side.
Okay, 1 out of 2 for Gary Belcher. The scoreline, 20 points to 10, 3 tries to 2. Alan Wilson's 4 from 5, looking pretty good for this Cronulla side as they come back to halfway. 20 points to 10, the scoreline here at Caltex Field. 20 points to 10 in favour of the Cronulla Sharks, and there are 13 minutes left for play. Let's go to the rugby. Ian Trent.
And New Zealand 28 with a kick to come. Australia 3. John Kerwin a try.
Okay, John Kerwin a try for the New Zealand All Blacks. So they're just blitzing Australia there at Concord Oval, and a big victory coming up for the New Zealand All Blacks. And who can deny them that? They're a magnificent football side.
The ball taken by Stewart after the recommencement, given back to Paul Martin. He goes to ground 18 out from his own goal line. Waller's a dummy half across now to Lazarus, hits it up strongly too, but Dane Sorensen was in for the first hit. He gets up now to play the ball. Waller's dummies from the back of the ruck, gets past Michael Porter, steps over the top of another 1 or 2. Gavin Miller trying to wrap him up, but he carries the leather right up towards the halfway line, still 8 short of it. Centre field, it's played to Lazarus, goes across now to Ricky Stewart, good pass to Bellamy, out it goes to Bradley Clyde. Harris is there to look after him in company with Barry Russell. They lost yardage on that occasion. They're 36 out from their own line. Bellamy across to Jackson. Again, Jackson, his kick comes off the back of a Cronulla Sharks player, and Greg Davies over the touchline. Scrum to go down, 8 short of the halfway line.
Well, Cronulla seemingly hit a bit of a brick wall out there at the moment. They raced in a couple of easy tries in the second half, in the second minute and the 6th minute of the second half, and then put the whip away. Opening 6 minutes was all the Cronulla side, but in the last period of play, it's been Canberra with more football and scoring 2 good tries. And Gary Belcher coming into the game, giving some impetus to this Canberra side, and here's Belcher now.
Oh, putting Daly through the gap. He's taken off. He's got now Ferguson has got the pace. He gets around 1 or 2. Hit by another. Tries to go back inside, but eventually wrapped up by Coleman, and the ball reaped out of his possession. Penalty kick to Canberra, and correctly so.
Gee, Ferguson's a good winger, Greg. How he stayed in the field of play. McGaw was going to put him up in the grandstand with a tackle, but he saw him coming, propped, came inside, looked at that sideline. It was as though it was the gap, and brilliant stuff. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Oh, McGaw was going to put him into the car park. Jackson stopped on, Ferguson stopped on a sixpence, and McGaw nearly hit the cigarette sign.
Okay, here's Lazarus taking it up. Where's Big Backo now? They want some impetus from him.
10 metres out now. Lazarus plays it to Wallace, gives it back to Sam now, and Backo strides forward. He's 8 metres away from the Sharks goal line. Up there to play it. Wallace again, a dummy half across to Ashley Gilbert. He tries to go through the gap. His pass goes astray, and it's knocked down towards his own goal line. And that's another correct ruling from Annesley. Now it's with Ferguson. Tricky customer, pulled down this time by Alan Wilson. 10 metres away from the Sharks goal line. They're a bit thin out wide to the Sharks, and Wallace sees it, offloads to Stewart, out to Jackson, turns it back inside to Lazarus, but he can't get past Russell. Offloads out to Stewart, a long pass up over the top of you believe, that time into the arms of Bellamy. It's not Bellamy, it's another player coming on now. It's Hurst.
It's Hurst, okay.
And he's knocked the ball on. Scrum to go down the feet, of course, to the Cronulla Sharks.
Okay, Laurie Daly off for the Canberra side, and he looks very disappointed down there as he limps about the football field. So the injury toll is huge as Russell breaks away for Cronulla, and Cronulla really in the second half have had a bit going their way. Canberra looked as though on a couple of occasions they could have drawn up very close to this Cronulla side, which led 20-0.
Davies now plays it back to Docking. He gives it out this time to Porter, and Porter does some more heavy work up towards the halfway line. Got out of jail that time, the Sharkies. It's played now to David Hatch. Gets past Bellamy, still going forward. Eventually is taken on the halfway line. Down low again by Bradley Clyde. Will play the ball. Back it goes to Michael Porter. He gives it across to Malcolm Wheeler. Wheeler charges forward for another 8 metres or so. One tackle left to go. Michael Porter at dummy half. And it goes out there to Gavin Miller. He steps inside one. Gavin Miller, he's beaten one or two. He's got support down the centre. It goes into Eddinghausen. And that's the ball game. What a great pass back inside. A great pass back inside.
Well, Gavin Miller's been a star turn for Cronulla all year, and he's got him almost up there with a chance of the minor premiership now. A magnificent performance by Gavin Miller. A mighty pass from Gavin Miller, a beautiful bust. And he's talking to the sideline. He said, that'll do, won't it, boss? He's just about done it all out there today. 24-10. Magnificent bust and break by Gavin Miller. And he wants to go to the head bin, I think.
Well, I don't know about going to the head bin, but he is, to this side, what Wally Lewis is to Brisbane and Australia, Gavin Miller. And everybody in front of us now standing up to applaud the performance of Gavin Miller. An absolutely sensational match this afternoon, Pete.
Beautiful bust by Gavin Miller, and the pass inside to Eddinghausen. And Eddinghausen, is there a prettier sight in rugby league than Andrew Eddinghausen racing for the line and putting the ball down for a 4-pointer? He certainly looks tremendous when he's doing it. And,
in full flight.
Terrific. I like the way he puts the ball down too. Doesn't make any mistake about it. Goes down, tucks it to his chest, and in he goes.
Hey, Wilson now right on the 10-metre line. And they stand up to applaud Gavin Miller as he leaves the field, and rightly so too.
The king of Caltex goes from the field.
The king of Caltex. Okay, there's kick now to be taken, and they're all forgetting about the extra 2 points that young Wilson can post for them too.
Well, they're in a bit of bother, Greg. They weren't going to lose the game, but they were going to have a tight finish, and he's just made it easy.
He sure has, as Wilson comes in now. I'm sure he'll have the extra 2. There she goes. And the extra 2 points are posted. We've got another player on for the Sharks, Pete.
5 out of 6 for Alan Wilson now. 26 points to 10. That's going to be the ball game for the Cronulla side this afternoon. Quinn is on for Mark McGaw.
And another one too, just
Lee is on for Gavin Miller.
Quinn and Lee. Okay, so, gee, we've had a few reserves.
Danny Lee, big fella, number 26, brought to the club this year from up the North Coast. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Yeah, pretty to watch. The old warhorse Gavin Miller. No mistakes when he's in the clear. And then that sight of Andrew Eddinghausen. Isn't he something to watch?
Yeah, he certainly is. Brilliant bit of football. And the Sharks are home, and 11,184 here today. Terrific Saturday crowd. There was a time when Cronulla fans wouldn't come on a Sunday to see that many come on a Sunday to see them go round, but not so this year. And certainly a good crowd, 11,184, and they've got an outstanding football side to watch. They're just a workmanlike side. There's no frills about them. They do most things right, and they don't let the opposition in the game much. And it's 4 tries to 2 this afternoon. 5 out of 6 to Alan Wilson, who's had a terrific game too.
Wilson kicking from general play, straight down the throat of Gary Belcher, tries to go across the line. Dane Sorensen just heads up there beautifully to put Belcher out of business. Across to Bellamy, now out to Ferguson. Ferguson's through the gap again. He's got the pace. Put your head back, Chicker. But again, he's rounded up to some 32 metres out from the Sharks goal line. He quickly plays it to Bellamy, goes across to Bacco. Bacco's going to be wrapped up on the far side. Beautiful tackle that time too by Quinn. It's played now. It goes across to Walters, out to Bellamy again. He shapes up, but he's going to be knocked to the ground inside the Sharks quarter line. Quickly plays it again to Walters, goes across to Stewart. Long pass out now to Peter Jackson, turns it inside to Gary Belcher, who offloads out to Bradley Clyde, but Clyde's run out of support and he's knocked to the ground with one tackle left to go. Dean Lance at dummy half, fires one across to Belcher, races through, chips away, but Docking dives on it and saves a very awkward situation for the Cronulla side. Getting up the play at Quinn at dummy half, only one player in support, elects to go on his own. He is fresh, goes across field and downfield an extra 2 metres or so. 11 out from his own goal line. Porter gives it out now to big Danny Lee. Lee's taken by Sam Bacco over the top and knocked to the ground. We'll get up and play the football once again. Back it goes to Porter. Porter out now to Sorensen. He turns his back into Wallace. Bacco arrives on the scene to add the extra poundage to put him down. He'll play it now to Porter. Back in field it goes. Out to Malcolm Wheeler, and he's worked hard all afternoon. Wheeler up to his own quarter line before he's knocked to the ground. Porter again a dummy half. One tackle left to go to the Sharks. I think he'll put it downfield, and that's what he's going to do. Wilson's in possession. Gets around Ashley Gilbert, and Wilson puts the ball high into the blue skies here at Caltex Field, where Zorba wants to call it Shark Park. Taken beautifully by Martin. Little Barry Russell's down there to put him down. Belcher a dummy half. Gives it across now, straight into the arms of Hurst, and Hurst is wrapped up 5 metres short of the halfway line. Ferguson goes across now to Stewart. Long pass across now to Belcher. Belcher straightens up the attack, but taken by Eddinghausen. Slips it back away out to Hurst, then gives it out to Martin. Martin takes off. Denny Lee's got hold of him by the shirt tail to put him down. Belcher at dummy half. Sends it in field now to Craig Bellamy. Out it goes to Ricky Stewart, but he's going to be wrapped up now 40 metres out from the Sharks goal line.
Cronulla 26 lead Canberra 10, and Exide Battery's man of the match this afternoon. A great game this afternoon by Alan Wilson. 3 points to Alan Wilson this afternoon. 3 points to him. 2 points to Mark Magore, Sparkles Magore, and 1 to the old warhorse himself, who's polling very well in our Player of the Year contest, Gavin Miller. 3 points to Alan Wilson, the Exide Battery's man of the match. 2 points to Mark Magore, and 1 to Gavin Miller this afternoon. Gary Belcher, Canberra's best player, just failing to pick up a point this afternoon, but geez, had a good game for the Canberra side. But it's been all Cronulla. They've deserved their win, and this is a win that's really going to wrap up a semi-final spot for them. And they deserve it. They've been up there all year, and they've certainly been a value for money side. And their fans this afternoon, 11,184 here this afternoon. A couple of busloads from Canberra, but mainly Shark supporters, and they've enjoyed it. And the club over the way from where we're broadcasting is going to be rollicking tonight over there. Okay, let's check Ian Trent at the rugby.
Walker a try, line of the conversion. New Zealand 30, Australia 9.
30 points to 9. Well, there's a hiding for Australia in the rugby test. Okay, the scoreline here, 26 points to 10. So Cronulla join Canterbury Bankstown on 30.